Welcome to the Motivational Medium podcast. I'm Anne-Marie Lord, a psychic medium, author, and the founder of the Motivational Medium Academy. On this podcast, we'll explore intriguing topics such as mediumship, psychic abilities, and the amazing idea that we all have intuition within us. Whether you're a believer, skeptic, or somewhere in between, get ready to unlock your extraordinary potential as we discover the supernatural world together. If you want your questions featured on the show, be sure to join my tribe by subscribing to my newsletter at annemarielord.com. Let's go. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to Motivational Medium. I'm your host, Anne-Marie Lord, and on today's show, I've got the beautiful Lisa Brandis come in, and she's agreed to sit and have a little cozy chat with me and teach us all some massively interesting stuff all about the world of Reiki, channeling. And Lisa is not only an author, she's a Reiki Master, an intuitive channeler of a spirit guide, Anya. So welcome, Lisa, to the show.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, having a chat with you with a nice cuppa.
It's such good fun. I'm so excited to finally get to do this. We've tried to organise this for so long, and my fault because I moved house and all the absolute crazy stuff that's been going on in my life over the last few months. But today we finally got to do this, so this is so cool. Now, Lisa, when anyone comes onto my show, I always ask them, tell our gorgeous friends out there a little bit about yourself.
I am a mother. I've got two gorgeous girls, a husband who has just run his very first marathon. So we've just come back from the Gold Coast, so he did amazing. And I'm a intuitive Reiki Master teacher and a channel, as you mentioned, and my work is really about helping people to trust their intuition and live powerful, happy, soul-aligned lives. So that's my kind of passion.
Fantastic. Now, when we say about teaching people intuition, it's a huge thing, isn't it? I'm a big believer, I don't know whether you agree with this, but when we come into this world, I always say, and you'll have heard me say it many times before if you've listened to the podcast, I think we come into this world with two main things, our instinct and our intuition. And as we get a little bit older, we sort of lose that a little bit, don't we? Because all our tangible senses become empowered, like we start knowing what we're seeing and we start knowing what we're feeling and what we're hearing and voices and how to walk. So we leave that intuition on the shelf.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of in the school system, I think it's very much about the intellect and the logic and about, more of that left brain, and the right brain is the creative center, the intuition, the magic. To me, it's where, it's where we tap into that world of wonder and mystery. And it's a play field that I think people have lost touch with. And when we start opening that spiritual door, it's just so much fun.
It's magical.
It is.
And this is what I would love. And, people like yourself and like myself, we love to teach this because, it's not about, oh, look at us, we know everything, because far from it, we absolutely do not. And that's why we go and study ourselves all the time. But what we do find out, I don't know whether you're the same. Well, I know you're the same because you've wrote this beautiful book, so you want to empower people. But whenever I find something else and I think, oh my God, that's a really good way of working, I want to share that with everybody, because I just think I want all of us to tap more into our intuition than we do into maybe our tangible senses. And that's where I believe the magic and the change happens.
Totally agree, Anne-Marie. And I think there is a movement happening now that we're both a part of, I guess leading in some way. And it really is about the power of vulnerability, the power of connection, and our intuition and our heart, which is our intuition is led by the heart. That creates these powerful connections that goes beyond the human five senses. So when we tap into that sixth sense and we work with the physical component and the spiritual component, that's where powerful change happens. People liberate themselves out of fear, and negative mindsets, and we all come together and live happier lives is my experience. And I'm always, like you said, the more I know, the less I know. And I think as teachers, we teach this because we love it and we learn as we teach. So it is, I think we're always sitting in this humble energy of, embracing that learner mindset where we're always learning and teaching and being inspired by our students.
So say we're always learning and teaching, and this is huge, isn't it? What would you say, like, is the anything, because I love people listening to this podcast and taking something away from it. And I usually ask this later on down the track and more into the interview. But is the anything at the beginning here that you think is simple and quick that people can do to tap into their intuition?
Absolutely. I think you've got to start with mindset. There is a premise out there that only special people are intuitive or gifted or psychic. But my belief and my experience has taught me over the years that it's an innate skill that every human being has. When we understand that, we unlock the ability then to learn it. So like any skill, like riding your bike, all you need is a desire to want to understand your intuitive aspect. And then, beautiful people like you and I who have got a framework and a teaching, through beautiful connections with like-minded people, I create safe places to explore where nothing's silly. There's no questions that can't be asked in those safe places where you can kind of just start to practice getting those messages. And probably for one of my best tips is oracle cards. I love them. They tap into the intuition. They tap into the creativity. They allow us to read the message. One of my favorite decks is Colette Baron Reed's, and she said to us, I was taught by a psychic medium that and in the beginning we were taught, don't rely on the message from the card because the idea is to develop your own intuition. And so use the picture as a gateway into receiving the message. But then I heard Colette Baron Reed saying, she'd heard that popular premise as well. And she said, hang on a minute. I literally did all the work. I channeled. I got this beautiful divine message. I put it into a perfect written word. Don't dismiss mine. Use mine and yours. And that to me was like music to my ears. And sometimes I'll be doing a reading with someone or I'll be doing Reiki and I'll look at a card. And normally my intuition will flood me with visions and just thoughts and impulses will come in, or I'll just start talking. And occasionally I'll just get crickets. And then I know I'll just go read the book. The book's message says it. And usually that's enough. So I kind of like that as a bit of a hot tip to get started with messages.
Now, it's funny you should say you read the book. My thing is, I'm a nightmare. Whenever I used to teach the angel cards, I used to say to everyone, right, throw the book away.
That's what I was taught.
And it was like, yeah, come on, let's tap into your own intuition. Because I feel like, I suppose you've heard of this saying, burn the boats and take the island.
Yeah.
If you take everything out, then you've got nothing else but your own intuition that you can use. Because for me, when I had the book, I would be like, okay, that's too hard for me. I can't do that. What does she say?
And we dismiss our own intuition. Do you know there's no right or wrong here? That's where
definitely not.
It's actually both strategies work at both times. And you're absolutely right. For fledgling beginners that are just trying to trust their intuition, sometimes they do rely on the message and then it's almost like it's written so well it knocks their confidence.
That's right.
So, yeah, absolutely. So there's benefits in both ways.
It's funny you should say that, isn't it? Because it's like, it is written and they write it so better than I would ever be able to write it. So it was like, let's just use their words, And that's how I used to do it. So when I started teaching angel cards, that was my first thing. Throw the book away, burn the boats and take the island. And people will be like, oh my God, But as you say, there is no right or there is no wrong.
Do you know what Colette Baron Reed taught me? She said that when I created that oracle deck, she said it's literally like I went through, did the work, opened the door to spirit, and then I left the door open and you can come walking in behind me. Yeah. And I think it's like getting in the power. It's like getting into that intuitive side and just thinking that someone who's walked the path before us has kind of left that door open and we can, kind of waddle in behind them.
Yeah.
Love that idea. So there's so many different ways, and everyone's different. You know, some people would find it easier, you know, with just getting that message, or even just for themselves. I find it hard sometimes when I've got an active problem to get clear guidance because my own head gets in the way. And I know a lot of people will find they'll be able to deliver better intuitive messages to someone else because they kind of step aside versus getting their own insights. We get a bit clouded, or what we want gets in the way.
Definitely, 100% get that. Because people say to me all the time, but you're a medium or you're psychic, so why can't you have these answers for yourself? Why don't you know this? Because we're too close to the cause or the situation.
Yeah.
So how do we do it for ourselves as such? And exactly the same, I'll go back to my oracle cards and I know exactly what my cards mean to me. When I threw the book away, them cards mean something different to me because I've taught myself over the years with the one deck of cards. That's another thing that I would say to people is stick with one set of cards at the beginning.
Yep, I've got two. That's it, that I've used for years and years and years because they're well worn. You know the meaning, you see the card, and yeah.
And that to me is how you get your answers. Because straight away you'll turn that card over and you'll see, like if say you were going for an interview for a job or something, and then one of the angel cards that I use, there's a caution. Now for me, that isn't caution. For me, when she's looking deeper, it talks about contracts for me. So signing of a contract. So if I was going for a new job and I turned that over straight away, I could see myself signing that contract.
So it wouldn't actually mean the caution.
That's right. For me, it was straight away would mean you're going to get the job because you're signing a new contract.
Mm.
That's why I always say to people, if you've got a set of cards, absolutely stick with them, work with them, use your own intuition. And even when your intuition is too close, then you can see the pictures and that will mean and give you your answer.
And it develops more with mediumship as well, when clairvoyantly we start getting symbols and we, you know, kind of can get our spirit guides. We'll start to recognize and identify symbols and language so we can interpret messages and start passing them on in mediumship. And it kind of is that next level, isn't it?
It's quite funny, isn't it? Some of the courses and things that like that we've been on and even that we've run. And I remember one time saying, I was teaching this psychic development course and this lady talking about the signs and the symbols and creating your own catalogue. And she come up with mushrooms. And I was like, okay, mushrooms. And then we go down the track of like, okay, what do mushrooms mean to you? And she said, well, mushrooms are kept in the jar and they're fed manure. And I was like, okay. So we were talking about someone asked her a situation that was going on within her work, this lady, and she was reading for this other lady. And she said, I can see mushrooms, me sign for mushrooms. And she said, you're being kept in the dark about something and fed shite.
Whoops. That's interesting.
I was going, okay, that's a way of looking at it, you know? And as it turned out, there was a lot going on behind the scenes within this company. And they actually was being kept in the dark and fed everything was going to be all right. And unfortunately, everything wasn't okay. So it was so interesting, you know, and to create your own catalogue of information. Brilliant.
I remember once when I was working in a healing centre, I had a lady come to me and she was seeing a medium for the first time. She wanted to connect with her dad who had passed away, and I was working on the desk. So I wasn't a medium at that stage, but I was a fledgling learning. And I started to describe the process. And as I was describing, my intuition kicked in and I started getting a clairvoyant message, but didn't realize it at the time. And this is what happens. We just get an idea pop in our head and it's a visual. And I said to her, okay, what will happen is the medium will get an idea. And I said, I'm seeing oranges. And then the picture, she just goes, uh-huh. And then the picture became a man walking down a street and a bag of oranges dropped and all the oranges ran down the front of the car and ran down a hill. And she started bawling her eyes out. I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? And she goes, that was the last thing I remember from my dad just before he died. He literally was walking down the street. He loved oranges and he had a full bag of oranges. The bag broke. I remember just watching them all run down the street. We were both laughing. And she said, I don't even need to see the medium anymore. She said, that's the confirmation I needed. And I was just like, oh, that was like one of my first experiences of, oh my God, I can do this. It was like, and she went and did the reading anyway, but still it was, and sometimes when we just don't have that pressure on ourselves and we're just wanting to help and just have that true desire to want to make a difference or to want to ease someone's suffering, spirit always comes in and they never let us down.
No, absolutely. I just love this journey and this work that we do. We're very, very privileged and blessed to be able to do it.
Totally.
One of the things I want to talk about the work is, what challenges have you worked through? Now, you talked there a little bit about when you very first started and you started to open and you thought, wow, I can do this. And, one of the biggest things for me that I teach, and I know you're very conscious about this as well, is delivery of messages, and how we deliver the messages. But what would you say has been a challenge for you around this work?
Well, to me, I think integrity and, really aligning to the pure essence of a message is important. And I know probably a challenge for me was that desire to want to get as much evidence as possible to be able to have a clear and accurate message. And I know a lot of mediums get a little hung up on delivering the evidence that we have the medium there. And I guess the best lesson I had was knowing that I can connect in through a feeling sense when I'm doing mediumship. And it's through understanding the essence and the energy of the person and then describing them in that way that I feel, to me, it activates more of my mediumship abilities and I get a clearer, better message, not necessarily spending too much time on the evidence side of it, if that makes sense. It's because they already know who they are. It's like, what are they here to share? Yeah. And when we learned mediumship, it was CERT. So get the connection, get the evidence. What's the reason that you're here? And then to me, it's like spending more time on what's the reason that you've come through today? And then really tying that message up, which means it's about leaving that client feeling uplifted and that they've got answers to the questions and that they're feeling empowered. That's and to me as a healer, more healer than medium and more channel, than I would say medium. It's to me about how do I help? How do I soothe? How do I uplift that person? Yeah, kind of where my focus has gone. I don't know if I answered the question as to biggest challenge. Skepticism is the challenge. The biggest challenge is fear of what others think of us as a medium or as a channel or as especially channeling. It's very woo-woo. So I guess there's always this part of me that just wants to be seen as credible and professional and not judged. And yet we judge ourselves, which is the biggest mindset block I think that we have, is our own self-judgment and worrying about what other people think.
I agree. The biggest freedom I ever got was deciding to not worry about what other people think. It set me free.
Your effort buckets.
Effort buckets. That's right. That's right. In my book, it's the effort buckets. I think it's chapter 6 or chapter 7 is what I teach other people because, oh my God.
It's liberating. Yeah.
I know that if I use all that effort, like you do, to grow yourself and to work on yourself, and then you show up 100% for your client, and as long as you know that you've shown up,
done the best you can,
then you can't change anything what other people say or think.
No. And I think for me, the biggest gift came in understanding that I think for me, the more I became popular as a spiritual teacher, the more it almost felt a little pressurized that there was this expectation that they saw me that maybe I didn't feel, that it's almost like this desire to be this spiritual teacher. And I think the biggest gift came when I realized I don't need to be anything other than myself. It's like I'm human, which means we make mistakes, we get it wrong, we are doing the best we can. There is a spiritual aspect that's pure. And when we're in that channeled space or when we're in the power or when we're delivering that message that changes someone's lives, of course they're going to flood you with gratitude. But it's almost Reiki teaches us it's not us. It's about being a channel, being of service, allowing that message, that spirit to come through us. And then we kind of get to participate in the joy of whatever that higher consciousness wants to bring through, and then how the client receives it is really up to them. So I think intention is a powerful tip, is to having a clear intention about how we serve and what we want to give, and then showing up and just being our best, doing the best we can.
That's why I think a big part of our job and our role in all this really is about keeping our own energy high, looking after our own being, looking after our own mindfulness and our own wellness. And, sometimes there's times when you have to step down and look after yourself, and that's okay. And in this job, I think, like in nursing, I spent over 30 years in nursing. There's times when you have to go within and you have to look after yourself, or you will absolutely burn out. Then, when you've done that, then I believe you can step back in again. So I don't think we should ever feel guilty about not delivering ourselves. We should turn up fully recharged, given 100%. And that way, I believe your energy is kept high. You are automatically protected by this beautiful energy because nothing negative can get in because your energy is high. I believe in smudge sticks and crystals and sage and everything, but the one psychic protection that I teach a lot of people is look after your own energy. What do you think about that, especially with Reiki? Because you've done a lot of Reiki and you're a gorgeous Reiki master and, intuitive Reiki author. Do you agree with that, or have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, agree totally. And I think, Reiki teaches us self-love. Essentially, at the very, very core beginning of Reiki, it's about putting your hands on your body, coming back into connection, and filling your own cup first. It's not selfish, it's actually self first. So it's important that we nurture ourselves. And I'm always on the path of exploring. 22 years I've been practicing in this field, and I think there's always new ways to experience more love, more passion. For me, it's friendships. It's about taking time off work. Like, I literally just went on a holiday with my husband and he said, leave your laptop at home. And it was a bit of a challenge, I have to admit. It was hard because I think it's one thing to step away and take breaks when we're in a job, but when we're doing our heart's calling and we're working for what we believe we were born to do, it's a little harder to step back because we kind of make these, well, I'm doing what I love. I get energized by my work. So it's easy to overwork because we love what we're doing. So I think we probably need stricter boundaries when we are following our calling and we're on purpose and we're doing what we're born to do then. And for me, that's come in trusting my husband. He grounds and anchors me. So when I'm getting a little out of balance, he'll pull me back and remind me. Yeah, he'll notice.
I schedule, I actually schedule time off and days down, and read a book has actually come into me. Oh, tomorrow I'm reading a book, I've noticed that I have to do that. Otherwise, if I have a free day,
We'll fill it.
that's it.
Yeah, I love the movies. I love going to the movies. The movies are fun for me. I've always loved cinema and don't like shopping so much. I've never been one for shopping, but
Especially as I'm putting the pounds on.
yeah, same, same. Doesn't have the same fun it used to. Kind of avoid the shops.
Shoes and handbags these days.
No, yeah, it is. I think meditation is a good thing. I use an app. There's some great apps. I use Insight Timer, which has just got thousands of free guided meditations. That's a really good way to kind of decompress, give myself Reiki, obviously, and essential oils I use as some kind of tips to ground and connect and come back to self. I love giving myself Reiki in the shower in the morning. Like, what a great start to kind of connect in to self before we go out to the rest of the world. Yeah, there's so many different things. Yeah.
It is. But them little tips are really, really good. How do we overcome that fear? Because when I go into my office of a morning, I still have that fear of,
what if spirit doesn't come?
especially I'm a event and you're on a stage with like 100 people there and you're thinking, okay.
I'll tell you a very quick story. I'd been asked to do a live channeling in a Facebook group, and this lady who had asked me to do it, it was the first time I'd ever done a live group channel. And I remember just being so stressed. I was so anxious. It's like, oh my God, because it's one thing to do it for free or do it with a small group of friends. It's another when other people have kind of promoted that you're going to be there, that you're going to channel Anya, and they're coming with this expectation. And I remember going to a mentor of mine, Kim, and we were out to lunch and she got annoyed at me, Anne-Marie, and she literally said, oh my God, because I was whinging and just being all nervous and in all victim energy. And she just goes, oh, Lisa, stop it. She's going, you don't love yourself. And I just went, what? And I got angry. I'm like, hang on a minute. Yes, I do. But it was like in that moment, I'd forgotten who I was and that I do love myself and that I've done this work and I know what I'm doing, because that's what the little small ego does, the insecure part of us. Even with 15 years channeling experience, I still get that nervous part of me that thinks, what if I can't do it? And what I've learned is to accept it, Anne-Marie. I don't expect that I'll be this confident person like, wow, I'm amazing, like never. And I think the more we are passionate, the more we love what we're here to do, the more that insecurity is there, because it matters so much that we deliver powerful messages, that we have accurate guidance come through. So to me, it's about acceptance. It's accepting that we can feel nervous and can have fear and push through it and do it anyway. So I love that. There's a book that is Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Brilliant book. I'll put that book in the show notes as well. And I'll also put Lisa's book, Lisa Brandis Intuitive Reiki book, an amazing book. I'll put that in the show notes as well. But before we wrap up, Lisa, I want to ask you something, because I know we can't close today's show without asking you a little bit about Anya. And, you know, you've been doing some channeling and you've got a channeling live event. Unfortunately, when this podcast goes out, that event will have already happened. But I'm sure Lisa will be doing a lot more of these channeling events. But tell us a little bit about the difference, because a lot of people, including myself at one time, didn't know the difference about how we channel spirit to how we channel spirit guides. Someone told me once that it was a solid channel for a spirit guide and a secondary channel for a spirit. And I just didn't quite understand what they were trying to say. So I hand it over to you, the expert on this.
Yeah, well, to me, there's psychic mediumship, which is talking to those past ones that have connected with us in the spirit realm, and channeling spirit guides. It's a different energy that we tap into. It's mental mediumship still. It is mediumship. Channeling comes under the umbrella term of mediumship, but we can be conscious channels. We can be deep trance channels, and it's just a different place we go to when we knock on the door to spirit. It's a different energy that we learn to have that close connection with our spirit team. And it's an invitation. You literally have to go to a point where you understand the benefit of channeling. You know what it is. You've seen people like Esther Hicks. You know exactly what it's like to be able to call through powerful, positive, pure positive energy. And to me, there's nothing more incredible than feeling that frequency within my body. And it comes through me. The best way I describe it when I'm channeling Anya, she's a collective of consciousness. So she has a singular name, but she represents a team. And it's literally like I'm in the car, in the passenger side. I kind of move over from the driver's seat to the passenger seat and she slips into the driver's seat. I'm aware of what she's saying, but I don't have any control over it. So she's coming through me using my vessel, sharing the message with the person that she's connecting to. And because I'm a healer, healing energy comes in on that frequency as well with her. So the energy in the room will be palpable when I do a channeling event, a bit like mediumship.
Yeah.
But it's a different energy. It's a different feeling. I would say probably more a healing environment and helping people with their life and decisions and what it is, probably more like giving an intuitive reading versus tuning in and connecting to those that have passed, which is mediumship.
Can I try and simplify that in my own mind and see whether, because you know what I'm like, you know I'm all about simplicity. So go back to the car. So when you're doing channeling of Anya or the team, it's like Anya takes the wheel. Yeah.
She does, but not to the exclusion of me. This is where it's like I'm a pinpoint in the back of the room,
Yeah.
but I'm still aware of what's happening, but I'm not controlling or I'm not creating. I'm a passive participant. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. And I think mediumship is a little bit like Anya's or spirit is in the passenger seat. I'm still in the driving seat.
Yes. And it's a message. It's like a third party message. It's like being on the phone to someone, they tell you a message, you receive it, then you translate it. Anya and channeling is direct messaging.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to clarify that, because there is a difference between it. And I feel more when you do channel, you're absolutely right. It's like you're there, but you're not there. And your messages that come through are absolutely word for word.
Yeah, the energy with it is amazing.
It is.
You've had I remember you saying on one of your podcast episodes that, and quite often people that have studied mediumship will have an experience where they tip into trance channeling, not necessarily knowing it's happening.
Yeah.
Did you say you've had that happen to you?
That has happened to me. It's have been a few times. And one of the times, the biggest times, was when I was doing a past life regression and I was coming life between lives. And I was coming between one life to the other. And this fascinates me. And I think we need to do another podcast all about channeling, because the being for me was a team of three. And I could see these three, they call themselves the Grand Masters. And I could see these Grand Masters, but it was like they were all talking through one voice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what Anya does. It's a group collective, but there's one spokesperson.
That's right.
But because their frequency that travels at the speed of light, it's like communication comes in thought blocks, not sentences. It's like reading the book like that. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? And just knowing the contents of the book.
And it's absolutely fascinating. And, you mentioned earlier on there before Esther and Jerry Hicks as well. Esther is a channeler of Abraham and has written so many books, which are fascinating books. So channeling now is becoming more accepted, I believe.
Still probably on the woo-woo side of
Yeah.
the spirituality. But yeah, she's done some amazing work at really bringing it into the mainstream. I've followed Esther since, probably the last 20 years. Loved her work.
Yeah, she is. She's very, very good. If you get a chance, read some of her work. Esther Hicks, and Jerry Hicks is her husband, and Esther channels Abraham. So that's really, really cool. Now we must go because we could sit and talk for hours, but where can people find you, Lisa, and find out more about you?
I have a little opportunity where you can download my book for free at the moment, which is for a limited time only. So I will give you the link. And there's also a spiritual boot camp that's just a perfect introduction to people wanting to learn more about channeling and intuition.
Fantastic. And I will put all Lisa's information in the show notes. So if you want to find out more about Lisa Brandis, all her information and emails and everything will be all in the show notes. Lisa, have you got a website?
Yeah, intuitivereiki.com.au.
Okay, perfect. That will also be in the show notes. Now, just before we go, is the one simple, quick thing that you can teach our listeners that can help them? Because I first heard about you, Lisa, before even all the channel and stuff, was when you were doing Reiki. And I love Reiki and I'm a Reiki Master. And what is the one thing that for maybe self-healing or self-care that someone can do for themselves so our listeners can go away with this today and put it into practice straight away?
It's actually a mindset tool, and it's having the question or even writing it down on a Post-it note if you want something practical, is love is the answer to every question you'll ever ask. So what would love say in this situation? And start automatic writing, start a journal, whatever problem you've got or whatever question you've got, what would love say? And quite often we are way harder on ourselves than we realize. And to me, the first introduction of my spirit guide was that beautiful, loving, nurturing friend that I deeply was craving. And I know a lot of my students do. So it's how we can start to bring in that kindness to self is to frame it in that way. And you'll be surprised because the heart is there and the love is there. We are not disconnected from source. So that's one way to start tapping in and receiving that.
So love is the answer. So whenever you've got an issue or anything going on within your own life, think about love is the answer.
Yeah. What would love do?
What would love do? That was it. Lisa, it's been an absolutely pleasure to have you on today. I hope you will come back and chat with us again one day.
Of course, I would love to. It'd be my pleasure.
Fantastic. Have the best day, guys. And thank you so much for tuning in today. We've had the most beautiful chat with Lisa Brandis, Reiki Master, intuitive guidance coach, and author and channeler of her spiritual guide, Anya. And all Lisa's information will be in the show notes. Have the best day, my friend, and I will catch you on the next episode. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this show. It's important to note that while I'm here to inspire, encourage and guide you, I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist or a doctor. Join me again in 2 weeks for more captivating revelations on the supernatural. Remember to be in with a chance to have your questions answered on the podcast. Subscribe to my newsletter at amarylord.com. Stay in the tribe to vibe. I appreciate you guys. See you next time.